I was raised in the Rocky Mountains in Canada, and I'm a dual citizen I have a passport in Canada and a passport in the U.S., so I'm a Canadian citizen and a U.S. citizen. And when I was younger, was raised around horses and outfitting in the mountains there. And then when I was young, 16 or so, I worked on some ranches, cowboying, worked on some big places there, the Wine Glass, the Gang Ranch in BC, the A7, and then I was there for a little while. I worked at one of the first big ranch jobs I had was at the œHorses. As a job for the federal government. They had a bunch of horses, and I was starting colts there. And then I moved to the States, to California, to be around Tom Dorrance. And so I was around Tom Dorrance there when I first moved to California and worked horses. And that was one of the most fortunate things in my life, was to meet Tom and be around Tom. And from there I met Bill Dorrance, and I'd already met Ray years before I met Tom. And so then it started the journey of horsemanship and stockmanship, and buckarooed on some big outfits in California. One outfit had 9,000 cows, some other outfits had yearlings, and anyways, we started to develop this kind of way of living, way of life for me. So I got started doing the clinics. I was in California, and Tom was around, and Tom had been doing a few clinics, and he would come over, and we would have some people over, and I would do some of the work, and Tom would tell me what to do, how to do it, you know, kind of help me along there. And I started to do some more clinics as time went on, and that was very interesting. And the clinics, really, I started them to see a volume of horses, to see more horses, and to see if I could find one that wouldn't understand what I was talking about. Of course, Tom was older, and he couldn't find one that didn't understand it. And of course, Ray had been before, and he couldn't find one. But of course, you're always trying to find that out for yourself. And then I live in California, I don't know, 15, 16 years. Then I moved to Wyoming with my wife, and bought the Hat Creek Ranch here in Wheatland. And then we started to, was already doing clinics, and we started, we were doing more and more clinics all the time. I think, I've been in the business 24 years now doing clinics, and I think it's always, in the first 5, 6, 10 years, I don't know what it would have been, 20, 22 clinics a year. Now they're up to 35 to 40 clinics a year. Well, I think, in the beginning, like I said, I started the clinics to see a volume of horses and to see if I could find one that didn't understand it. And 25 years later, that's still the most exciting part when you go to a clinic, is to see the new horses, and to meet the new horses, and to see what they need help with. And it's kind of like I say, when you get on your horse, try to see what you can do for him, not what he can do for you. And the same with the people. I still am looking for the horse that doesn't understand it, and I still enjoy that part, but I think through time you start to enjoy the people's little changes just as much as you enjoy the horses' little changes. But I think when I first started, you enjoyed the horses' change more than you enjoyed the little pinnacles of knowledge that the people got out of it. I don't think I appreciated that as much as I do now. Maybe that's because you get older, and you finally realize that you can't make people understand this. They have to work at it. And so the little things, whether it's somebody not being able to put on their halter, and they figure out how to tie the knot, to somebody that's a major thing. to somebody else that has a bridle horse and they want to do a flying lead change, and you help them get that working, that's also a big thing for them. But I think you have to just look at each person and each horse. But I think I still enjoy the horses, but I enjoy the people too as much. And that to me is probably what keeps you going. I think the horses are always, there's going to be horses around. And they've been around for a long time now, 50 million years. But the people, without the people bringing their horse, you could stay at home and work horses. But somebody's got to pay the bills, so people own them. So without that, you're not going to have that. And I think that takes a while for people to figure that out when they start. And I'm not sure I really understood that when I first started. I think I thought the horses would always be around, but I finally realized that without those people bringing the horses, no matter what, if they didn't come with their horse, there was nothing to do. So I think I appreciate that more and more daily. And I think my goal with the clinics is for people to come, to not be pressured up to figure something out, but with enough direction so that they can start to separate some of these things, enjoy their horse, whether they want to we do all kinds of clinics. We do ranch roping, cow working, horsemanship, colt starting, and the horsemanship goes anywhere from the snaffle bit, hackamore, two-rein, straight up in the bridle. And I think my goal is to have people, whether they want to make a bridle horse or they want to just ride their horse in the snaffle, is to enjoy their horse, not to try to think that they need to get to one place, to just make a snaffle bit horse or just to make a bridle horse or to make a cow working horse. If they're happy just getting on their horse and riding out and seeing the country and riding on a ranch and working a few cows, or if they're doing it for a living, we help a lot of people that work on big ranches that want to fine-tune their skills, get better, understand the horses and the cattle part of it. So we help a lot of people like that too. But I don't think it really matters where you want to go to. I'm just happy that you make a little bit of a change and you're trying. That's the most important part. And most people come to a clinic, they have lives and they do their job. Not a lot of people make their living a horseback anymore, but they all have a job and they're all good at what they do. And I tell them, I said, this is my world right now, but what you do in your world, if you're a computer programmer or whatever, I would be lost in that world too. So I understand that they're all good at what they do. And a lot of people come to the clinics just to enjoy their horse and make some little progress. And, they're not maybe ever going to start 200 head of colts or make a bridle horse, but they just want to enjoy their horse and understand their horse, not 50 horses, just their horse. And I think when you don't try to cram somebody into something that they're not ready for, that's a good thing. I'm a different kind of a teacher. I don't try to be here and then the student here and bring the student up. What I do is I let the student be here and I'm underneath it. So then I help the student go to the next step and then I'm underneath it. So that if the student falls, I don't mean fall off physically, but has trouble, then I am there to help them, catch them, and go on with it. So to me, you can't work from here and bring the student up. It's kind of like the horse. You got to work with the horse from where he's at. And I've said for a long time, there's more than one way to work a horse, but there's only one right way, and that's to work from where the horse is at. So it doesn't really matter what you do. It's as long as you're working from where he's at. And it's the same with the people. Some people ride in a bridle and they want to make a bridle horse. That's great. Some people ride in an English saddle and English snaffle bit, or in a snaffle bit, and that's great. Some people ride in and, you know, maybe they just want to trail ride their horse, and that's great too. I just try to help everybody from where they're at, and everybody has different levels, everybody has different expectations of it, but just trying to help them become happier and better with themselves, and I think that's the key, and I think that's what my friend Tom would like too. I can remember being in a lot of clinics, and if people's horses were not in trouble and they weren't in trouble, the person wasn't in trouble and the horse wasn't in trouble, Tom was liable to just leave it alone, because horse was happy and so was the person. And I think when you start trying to peck at that, somebody can get into trouble, and usually it's the horse that gets into trouble first. You know, a lot of times people say, you know, that they get frustrated and upset, and I said, well, the horse felt it first. He's the one that got upset. That's why you're feeling it now. So if the horse doesn't do something for you, people can get upset, and I say, well, he's the one that felt that emotion first. That's why you're feeling it. And I think if you try to cram somebody into something, the horse is liable to feel the trouble first and then the person. But if the person gets too frustrated, the person, a lot of times they can feel very discouraged, and they're not happy about it anymore. They're not happy about trying to learn something new. And so when it's time for them to go on, you're just there to take them along. And if they don't go on, that's great too. If they're happy just doing that and the horse responds with respect, then it doesn't matter whether you work cows on him, ranch rope on him, bridle horse, or trail ride on him, as long as everybody's happy. That's my goal, is that people are safe. You know, so many times people get into trouble, they get hurt, and then they quit riding. And my expectations of what I want people to understand, I had to realize that just because I wanted to be a good ranch roper, or be good at working cattle, or be good working colts, doesn't mean that everybody that comes to the clinic has that same desire. So I had to look at what they wanted, and I'm not changing what I do, but I do think that you have to realize that people are coming to have a good time, and they are where they're at, and they want to learn something, or they wouldn't be there. And it's our jobs, my job as a clinician, to figure out what that is they need. And again, it's just like the horse. Try not to upset them. They might get upset, but try not to upset them. So anyways, that might be a little bit about myself, and maybe one day we'll get to see you at a clinic, and we'd really enjoy it.